I accidentally entered the alien royal bath, and I learned a secret that nobody should know. Marcus Bishop had never intended to end up on Norheth Prime, nor had he planned to explore the royal palace. As a seasoned human explorer, he was used to navigating strange worlds and encountering unexpected situations. But today, everything had gone wrong. The mission was simple: make contact with the alien leaders, gather information on their technologies, and return to Earth. Noreth Prime was a peaceful, technologically advanced planet, and the royal palace was an impressive marvel of alien architecture. Marcus had studied its designs for days, and he thought he had memorized every path, every corridor, and every restricted area. But that was before the wrong turn. He had been trying to avoid a group of alien diplomats who seemed to be in a hurry and discussing matters in a language Marcus couldn't understand. In his haste, he ducked into a side corridor, hoping to avoid detection. At first, the hallway was empty. The walls were adorned with beautiful paintings of Norathian history, vibrant landscapes, strange creatures, and towering spires that seemed to defy gravity. He admired the artwork as he walked, but he wasn't here for sightseeing. He had a job to do. The corridor stretched longer than he had anticipated. Marcus began to feel the familiar unease that came from being lost on an alien world. He pulled out his communicator, ready to check his map, but his device displayed nothing but static. Frustrated, he put it back in his pocket. Then he saw it, a large door ahead, hidden behind draping vines that seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. It looked like a decorative entry, one he had never seen before in his research. Marcus approached cautiously, instinctively feeling that something was different about this place. The door was slightly ajar, and beyond it there was no sound, nothing but the hum of the palace's energy systems. The eerie silence only heightened his curiosity. He stepped forward. The door opened with a soft hiss, revealing a vast room. Marcus blinked in surprise. The royal bath. The space was unlike anything he had seen before. The air was thick with a sweet, fragrant mist, and the floor was made of smooth, polished stone that reflected the shimmering blue light of the water. At the center of the room was a large, circular pool, its waters glowing with a mysterious, ethereal light. Alien plants, some that Marcus had never seen, lined the edges of the bath, their bioluminescent petals casting a soft glow across the chamber. It was beautiful, serene, and peaceful. Marcus stepped forward, unable to tear his eyes away from the sight. He had heard rumors of the royal bath but had never expected it to be so majestic. The entire room exuded an air of importance, of sacredness. This was no ordinary chamber. It was a place of immense cultural and spiritual significance to the Norathians. He knew he should leave. He was trespassing, and if caught, it would mean serious consequences. But his curiosity got the better of him. He moved closer to the pool, its surface undisturbed. There was a faint sound, like soft music, coming from somewhere beneath the water. Marcus knelt at the edge and dipped his fingers into the liquid. The moment his skin touched the water, a surge of energy coursed through him. He recoiled in shock, but the sensation quickly faded. He looked at his fingers, expecting them to be glowing, but there was nothing. Had he imagined it? Just as he was about to pull away, the sound of footsteps echoed from the doorway. Panic surged through him. He turned to see a group of Norathian guards, tall, imposing figures with shimmering armor, entering the room. Their eyes fixed on him, their expressions unreadable. "Human," one of the guards spoke in a deep, resonant voice. "What are you doing here?" Marcus froze. His heart pounded in his chest. He had no excuse, no way to talk his way out of this. His mind raced, scrambling for a plausible reason for being in this sacred space. But the truth was simple. He had no idea how he'd ended up here. He had just taken a wrong turn. I didn't mean to intrude," Marcus stammered, standing up quickly. "I was just exploring the palace. I didn't know." "Silence," the guard interrupted, stepping forward. His tone was stern and commanding. The other guards flanked Marcus, their eyes never leaving him. He knew this wasn't a friendly visit. "You are in a restricted area, human," the guard continued. "The royal bath is not for your kind. You should not have come." Marcus swallowed hard. This was bad. He was in serious trouble. His mind raced, trying to think of a way to escape, but the guards were closing in. There was nowhere to run. "Please," Marcus said, his voice a little more desperate now. "I didn't know. I was just trying to avoid the diplomats, and I ended up here by accident. I mean no harm." The guards exchanged glances, their expressions unreadable. Then, to Marcus' surprise, the lead guard spoke again, his voice softer this time. "You have broken a sacred rule, human, but we will not harm you." Marcus blinked in confusion. Was this some kind of trick? "We will escort you to the queen," the guard said, motioning for the others to surround Marcus. "She will decide your fate." Marcus felt a cold shiver run down his spine. The queen. He had heard of the Norathian queen, of course. She was said to be wise, powerful, and a master of the mystical arts that governed the planet. The queen was the one person no one dared to disobey. "Wait," Marcus said, a sudden thought hitting him. "I don't want trouble, just let me go and I'll leave. I promise I won't." "No," the guard cut him off. "The queen will decide what happens next. You are not in a position to refuse." Before Marcus could protest further, the guards seized him by the arms and began escorting him out of the royal bath. The soft glow of the water faded behind him as they moved through the palace's corridors, his mind racing with questions. Why was the queen involved? What did they mean by decide his fate? He couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more going on here. Something he had just stumbled into by accident. But what could it be? Why had he been brought here? Was it just a mistake, or had something much bigger been set into motion because of his presence in that mysterious room? As the guards led him deeper into the palace, Marcus could only wonder what awaited him, and what secret he had unknowingly uncovered. Marcus was escorted through the winding corridors of the royal palace, the guards flanking him on either side. Each step seemed to echo louder in his ears, the sound of his heart beating in his chest drowning out everything else. He had always prided himself on his ability to stay calm in dangerous situations, but this felt different. The last time he had been in a palace, it was a simple diplomatic mission, with nothing more than a few formalities and some friendly exchanges. This was nothing like that. As the guards led him deeper into the heart of the palace, the walls grew more ornate, adorned with gold and silver carvings that shimmered in the dim light. The architecture was nothing like anything he had ever seen before. The Norathians were known for their advanced technology, but the beauty of their design was beyond words. The walls seemed to come alive with delicate, moving patterns, as if they were constantly shifting to tell a story, one that Marcus couldn't quite understand. After what felt like an eternity, the guards stopped in front of a set of massive doors. These doors were different from the others he had seen in the palace. They were made of a material that looked like glass, but it shimmered with an otherworldly light, changing colors as if it were alive. The guards stood still for a moment, their eyes trained on Marcus, and then one of them stepped forward and pushed the door open. The room beyond was vast and impressive. It was illuminated by the soft glow of countless crystals embedded in the walls, casting a gentle light that made the space feel both serene and intimidating. In the center of the room sat a large, elevated throne made of the same shimmering material as the doors. On the throne, draped in a flowing robe of deep blue and gold, sat the Norathian queen. She was as magnificent as the legends described. Her features were delicate yet sharp, her skin a deep shade of violet that seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. Her hair, long and flowing, appeared to be made of pure starlight, shimmering with every movement. Her eyes were the most striking, glowing with a bright, piercing green that seemed to look right through Marcus, as though she could see every thought in his mind. Marcus felt his breath catch in his throat. The Queen of Noreth Prime was known to be wise beyond measure, and she had been a ruler for centuries. The stories about her were filled with awe and reverence, but to be standing in her presence, with no idea what would happen next, was terrifying. The guard stepped aside, leaving Marcus standing alone before the Queen. He swallowed hard, unsure of what to say. His mind raced for something intelligent, something that would explain why he had entered the royal bath, but nothing came to him. The Queen's voice broke the silence, smooth and melodic, yet carrying a weight of authority that commanded respect. "Human," she said, her gaze never leaving him. "You have entered a sacred space, a place that no one but my bloodline is permitted to enter. Do you understand the gravity of what you have done?" Marcus nodded quickly. "Yes, Your Majesty. I didn't mean to, I didn't know. I was just trying to avoid the diplomats and I ended up there by accident. I'm sorry." The Queen studied him carefully, her eyes narrowing slightly. "You are not the first to stumble upon the royal bath, but you are the first to enter and leave without consequence. Do you know why?" Marcus shook his head, feeling small and insignificant under her gaze. "No, Your Majesty, I have no idea." The Queen leaned forward slightly, her voice softening, though her tone remained firm. "The royal bath is a place of great power. It is where the ruling bloodline connects with the energies of this planet. Only those who share my lineage can enter without danger, for the bath recognizes the blood of the royals." Marcus frowned, trying to make sense of her words. He had heard of the bath's mysterious powers, how it was said to give the monarchs visions of the future and grant them knowledge beyond ordinary comprehension. But he had never believed it was anything more than myth. "Then why didn't I?" Marcus began, but the Queen raised a hand, silencing him. "You are not of my bloodline," she said. "Yet, when you touched the water, something strange occurred. It reacted to you in a way that it has never reacted to anyone before." Marcus blinked, a cold feeling spreading in his chest. "What do you mean? I didn't even know what I was doing. I touched the water and then I pulled away, that's all." The Queen looked at him for a long moment, her eyes narrowing thoughtfully. "It is no coincidence that you found your way to the bath. There are forces at work, forces beyond your understanding. The bath does not choose just anyone. It chose you." A chill ran down Marcus' spine. He could feel the weight of her words, but they didn't make sense. He was just a human, a simple explorer. How could he have anything to do with a mystical place like the royal bath? Before he could speak again, the Queen stood, her movements graceful and deliberate. She walked down the steps from her throne, her eyes never leaving him. As she approached, a strange warmth filled the room, as if the very air was shifting around them. "You are not like the others," she said, stopping just a few feet away from him. "You do not belong to my people, but you are connected to something greater. Something that has been hidden for centuries. The bath has awakened something within you, and I fear that it is something dangerous." Marcus took a step back, suddenly feeling the weight of her words. "What do you mean? I didn't mean to cause any trouble, I just—" The Queen raised a hand to silence him again. "I know what you meant, human, but the bath is not just a place of healing. It holds secrets that have been passed down through the generations. Some of those secrets are too dangerous to be known. And now that you have touched the water, you carry a part of that knowledge within you." Marcus felt his pulse quicken. "What kind of knowledge?" The Queen's expression darkened. "The knowledge of the ancients, the true power that has kept my bloodline in control of this world. It is the power to shape reality itself, to bend time and space, to manipulate the very fabric of existence. That power is now within you, whether you understand it or not." Marcus swallowed hard, the enormity of what she was saying sinking in. "I didn't ask for this. I didn't even know what was happening." The Queen's gaze softened, though her eyes still held an edge of concern. "No, you did not ask for it, but now you must decide what to do with this power. You must understand the consequences of your actions, for they will echo throughout the galaxy." For a moment, There was only silence. Marcus stood frozen in place, trying to absorb everything the queen had just said. The weight of her words pressed down on him like a physical force. What had he done? What had he unlocked? Finally, the queen spoke again, her voice almost a whisper. "You are not the first to stumble upon the bath, but you may be the last. The knowledge you carry can change the course of this world, and perhaps even the universe itself." Marcus felt the tension in the air. The fate of not just Noreth Prime, but perhaps all of reality, seemed to rest on his shoulders. And all of this had started with a simple mistake. "You will stay here for now," the queen said, her tone no longer as stern. "We must study you, learn more about the power you now possess. You may not understand it yet, but you will." As the guards stepped forward to escort him to a room in the palace, Marcus couldn't help but feel the weight of his situation pressing down on him. He had come to this planet as an explorer, never imagining that a single mistake would lead him to uncover secrets that could change everything. And as the doors closed behind him, he realized that his life, everything he had known, was about to change forever. Marcus sat alone in the room, his mind swirling with the weight of what he had just learned. The queen's words echoed in his ears, and he could still feel the strange, unsettling energy of the royal bath in his fingers. He had come to Noreth Prime expecting a routine mission, meet the alien leaders, gather some intelligence, and return home. But instead, he had stumbled into something far more dangerous and far more complicated than he could have imagined. The room he had been assigned to was simple, yet elegantly designed. The walls were adorned with soft, glowing patterns, much like the ones in the corridors. A large bed was tucked into one corner, surrounded by cushions and silken drapes. The air smelled faintly of incense, and the floor beneath him was warm, like the stone of the palace had been heated from below. It was a place of quiet beauty, but to Marcus, it felt more like a prison. He didn't know what to do. He didn't even know what he had done to deserve all of this. All he had done was take a wrong turn and find himself in the royal bath. But somehow, that single mistake had unleashed a chain of events that he couldn't control. The queen's power, the ancient knowledge in the water, and the mysterious forces surrounding him. It was all too much to comprehend. A knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. He stood up quickly, his heart racing, but he quickly steadied himself. He wasn't sure who would be coming for him, but it seemed that he was not going to be left alone for long. The door opened, and one of the guards entered, bowing slightly before standing at attention. "The queen has summoned you," the guard said, his voice calm and impassive. Marcus nodded silently and followed the guard through the palace once more. As they walked, the palace seemed even more imposing than before. The hallways were lined with intricate carvings and strange statues that seemed to watch his every move. The air felt thick with tension, as if the very walls were aware of the significance of what was unfolding. Eventually, they arrived at a large, circular chamber. The ceiling was high, with a large skylight that allowed the soft light of Noreth Prime's twin moons to shine through. The room was filled with Norathian officials, alien beings who were dressed in flowing robes and who looked at Marcus with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. Some of them whispered among themselves as Marcus entered, but the queen, seated at the center of the room, held their attention. Her piercing green eyes locked onto him as he stepped forward. "Human," the queen said, her voice carrying a weight of authority. "You have come here as an outsider, uninvited, and yet you have found yourself at the heart of something ancient. We must now decide how to handle the situation." Marcus stood before her, unsure of how to respond. "I didn't ask for this," he said, his voice steady despite the rising tension in his chest. "I don't understand what's happening. I just touched the water, that's all. I didn't mean to cause any trouble." The queen's gaze softened, though there was still an air of gravity around her. "It is not simply the act of touching the water that has brought you here. It is your presence, your connection to the energies of this world. The bath does not choose just anyone. It chose you, and now you must understand why. Marcus opened his mouth to speak, but before he could, one of the Norathian officials standing behind the queen stepped forward. He was tall, his features sharp and angular, and his eyes gleamed with an unsettling intensity. His voice was low but filled with authority as he spoke. "Your Majesty," he said, bowing slightly, "this human has no place in our affairs. He is a mere wanderer, an accidental intruder. We cannot allow him to possess the power of the bath, especially not when it has been so clearly revealed that he is a threat." A murmur spread among the other officials, and Marcus felt his stomach tighten. He had no idea what the official was talking about, but the look on his face made it clear that he was not someone who could be reasoned with. The queen held up a hand, silencing the room. Her expression was unreadable. "You are mistaken, Faris," she said, her voice cold. "The human is not a mere intruder. His presence here is a sign of something greater. We may not fully understand it yet, but the bath has chosen him for a reason." Faris, the official who had spoken, shot a glare at Marcus. "The bath does not choose randomly. It has chosen him because of the power he has unlocked. That power is dangerous, Your Majesty. We cannot allow it to fall into the hands of a creature like him." The queen's eyes hardened. "That is enough, Faris. You forget yourself. The bath has its reasons, and we will not act in haste." Marcus could see the tension between the queen and Faris. It was clear that there were deeper issues at play here, issues he had no understanding of. He was caught in the middle of something far more dangerous than he had ever imagined. The queen turned her gaze back to Marcus. "You must understand, human," she said, her tone softening slightly. "The bath's power is not to be taken lightly. It has shaped the history of this world for millennia, but now the balance has shifted. The ancient power it holds has been disturbed, and the consequences of that disturbance will not be easily undone." Marcus swallowed hard. "What do you mean? What happens now?" The queen stood, her robes flowing around her as she moved toward a large stone pedestal in the center of the room. Atop it was an object that Marcus had not noticed before. It was small, no larger than a palm, but it radiated an intense energy. The air around it seemed to crackle with power. The queen reached down and picked it up, holding it in her hands. "This," she said, "is the heart of Norath. It is the source of the bath's power. For centuries it has been kept hidden, protected by my ancestors. It is said that whoever controls the heart controls the flow of time itself, the very essence of this world." Marcus stared at the object in her hands, his mind racing. The heart of Norath. Could it be true? Could something as small as that really control time itself? The queen turned to face him again, her eyes focused intently on his. "And now, because of your presence in the bath, the heart has chosen you. You are the one who must wield it, whether you are ready or not." Marcus took a step back. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said, his voice trembling. "I didn't ask for this. I'm just a human. I don't belong here." The queen's expression softened, but there was a steely resolve in her voice. "The heart has no regard for your desires. It has chosen you, and now you must make a choice. Accept the power it offers or leave it behind, knowing that the future of this world, and perhaps the universe itself, may fall into chaos." Faris stepped forward once more, his eyes flashing with anger. "You cannot be serious, Your Majesty. A human with the heart. It is an abomination." The queen raised a hand, silencing him once more. "Enough. I have made my decision. Marcus Bishop will be the one to bear the heart. The bath has already marked him, and his fate is now intertwined with the fate of Norath." Faris' face twisted in disbelief. "You would place the future of our people in the hands of an outsider, a human." The queen's gaze turned cold. "Yes, Faris. Because the bath has chosen him, and if you cannot accept that, then you will be the one to leave." For a long moment there was only silence. Faris' eyes blazed with fury, but he said nothing. The other officials exchanged uneasy glances, but none dared to speak against the queen. Marcus stood frozen in place, the weight of the queen's words pressing down on him. The heart of Norath. He had no idea how he could control such power, or even if he wanted to. But one thing was clear. His life and the fate of Norath Prime had been irrevocably changed. He had no choice but to follow the path the Bath had set for him. "I will accept my fate," Marcus said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. The queen nodded, a flicker of approval in her eyes. "Then we shall begin. The time of your trial has come." Marcus stood at the edge of the chamber, his mind racing. The queen's decision had set everything in motion, but he wasn't sure he was ready for what lay ahead. His life had been turned upside down in a matter of hours, and now he was caught between forces he didn't fully understand. The heart of Norath had chosen him, and now he had to wield it, whether he was prepared or not. The room around him felt colder now, the weight of the heart's power pressing down on him. The small artifact glowed faintly in the queen's hands, as though it had a life of its own, pulling at the very fabric of the palace. The Norathian officials stood around him, their faces a mixture of disbelief and silent judgment. Faris, the one who had spoken out against Marcus from the start, stood in the corner with his arms crossed, eyes narrowed. The queen looked at Marcus with an intensity that made him feel both small and significant at the same time. Her green eyes were unwavering as she spoke. "You have been chosen, Marcus Bishop, but now you must understand what that truly means. The heart is not a weapon, nor is it a tool for mere power. It is the essence of Norath, the very foundation upon which our world has been built. To control it is to control time itself." Marcus felt the weight of her words sink into his bones. Time itself. The idea seemed impossible, yet the very object in front of him pulsed with an energy that felt like it could warp reality. He had never believed in magic, never believed in anything beyond what could be measured or explained. But this was different. The heart was something beyond comprehension, and it was now part of him. "What am I supposed to do with this?" Marcus asked, his voice trembling despite his best efforts to sound calm. The queen stepped closer, holding the heart out to him. "You must learn to control it. The power it holds is not meant for any one person to wield alone. The Bath has chosen you because your presence here has awakened something deep within the heart, something that has been dormant for centuries. But now that it is awake, it will not be ignored. The future of Norath rests on your shoulders." Marcus felt a chill spread through him as he reached out to take the heart. The moment his fingers brushed against it, a rush of images flooded his mind. Ancient cities, burning skies, swirling storms of energy, visions of destruction, of power lost and regained. He pulled his hand back quickly, his heart pounding in his chest. "What was that?" he gasped, his breath short. The visions had been overwhelming, like he had seen the entire history of Norath in an instant. The queen's face was calm, but there was a flicker of concern in her eyes. "The heart has shown you the truth. It is not just a source of power, it is a record of all that has happened in this world. It remembers the rise and fall of empires, the deaths of kings, the battles that shaped the course of history. And now it has chosen you to bear that knowledge. But you must be careful. The heart is not kind to those who are unprepared." Marcus felt the weight of her words like a heavy stone in his stomach. How could he possibly be prepared for something like this? He was just a human. He had no training, no understanding of how to wield the power that the heart held. And yet here he was, holding the future of an entire world in his hands. The room was silent for a moment, the tension palpable. Faris stepped forward, his voice cutting through the stillness. "This is a mistake, Your Majesty," he said, his eyes never leaving Marcus. "A human cannot be trusted with the heart. He is an outsider. He does not understand the weight of the responsibility he now carries." Marcus felt the heat of Faris gaze on him, but he refused to let the anger rise in him. "I didn't ask for this," he said, his voice firm. "But I can't just walk away now. I can't ignore what's happening here." The queen looked at Faris, her expression hardening. "You forget your place, Faris. The bath has chosen Marcus, and that decision is final. We will teach him what he must know." Faris' jaw tightened, but he said nothing more. The other officials in the room exchanged uncertain glances, but none of them dared to speak. The queen's word was law in the palace, and it seemed there was nothing they could do to change that. For the first time since he had arrived on Noreth Prime, Marcus felt the weight of his situation fully. He was no longer just a visitor on an alien world. He was a part of something much larger, something that could affect the fate of an entire planet, and possibly the entire galaxy. And yet, he had no idea what to do with the power he had been given. How could he learn to control it? How could he possibly understand something as vast and ancient as the heart of Norath? The queen seemed to sense his hesitation. She nodded to the guards, who moved silently to the far side of the room and opened a hidden door. "We will begin your training immediately," she said. "You must learn to wield the power of the heart. There is no time to waste." Marcus followed the queen and her guards through the hidden passage, his thoughts racing. The palace seemed even more mysterious now, each corridor twisting in on itself as if it were alive. He had never been in a place like this before, places that weren't just buildings but living entities, holding secrets older than anything he had ever encountered. They arrived in a small chamber, its walls lined with ancient scrolls and strange devices that Marcus couldn't begin to understand. In the center of the room stood a stone pedestal, much like the one the queen had used to display the heart earlier. The queen motioned for Marcus to approach. "Here, you will begin," she said, her voice soft but firm. "This is where your training will begin. The heart will reveal itself to you slowly. You will not understand it all at once, but you must trust in the process." Marcus nodded slowly, feeling the weight of the heart still pulsing in his chest. It was a strange feeling, as if the object had become a part of him, connected to his very being. He had no choice but to follow the queen's instructions. If he didn't learn how to control the heart, he had no idea what could happen, not just to Noreth, but to the universe itself. The queen placed the heart on the pedestal and stepped back. "Now, Marcus, close your eyes and focus on the heart. Let its energy flow through you. Feel its power, its connection to the very core of this world." Marcus took a deep breath, his mind filled with doubt. How could he possibly control something like this? But he had no choice. He stepped forward, placing his hands on the pedestal, and closed his eyes. At first, nothing happened. But then a faint warmth spread through his hands, and he felt the pulse of energy from the heart once more. It was gentle at first, like a soft breeze on his skin. But then it grew stronger, the power surging through his veins, filling him with a strange, overwhelming sense of purpose. He could feel the ancient power within the heart, like it was alive, like it was speaking to him. Images flashed before his eyes, visions of distant worlds, of civilizations rising and falling, of stars being born and dying. The images were so vivid, so real, that Marcus could almost hear the voices of those long gone, calling out to him. He gasped as the knowledge flooded his mind, overwhelming him. But just as suddenly as the visions had come, they stopped. He opened his eyes and staggered back, his heart racing. The room around him seemed to spin as the weight of the experience settled over him. "You see," the queen said, her voice calm but filled with an unspoken understanding. "The heart has shown you the past. It has connected you to the history of this world. And now you must learn how to channel that power." Marcus felt his head spinning, his thoughts a jumbled mess of images and emotions. He had seen so much, but it all felt like it was just out of reach. How could he possibly make sense of it all? The queen stepped forward, her expression softening. "The heart will guide you, Marcus, but only if you allow it to. You must trust in it and in yourself." Marcus nodded, though doubt still lingered in the back of his mind. The power of the heart was incredible, but it was also terrifying. He didn't know if he was ready for the responsibility it entailed, But there was no turning back now. "You will learn," the queen said, her voice filled with certainty. "And when the time comes, you will be ready to face the challenges ahead." Marcus didn't know if he believed her, but one thing was clear. He was in this now, whether he was ready or not. The heart had chosen him, and there was no going back. He could only hope that he could learn to control it before it controlled him. The days had blurred together since Marcus had begun his training with the heart of Norath. Each day was an endless cycle of intense focus, strange visions, and overwhelming power. He had learned more about the heart, but it felt like he had only scratched the surface. The power that flowed through him was immense, and yet he still had little control over it. The queen had been patient, guiding him through the process, but even she seemed to understand how difficult it was for him to fully grasp the responsibility he now carried. The heart wasn't just a tool. It was a force, an ancient entity that lived and breathed within the world. It held the power to manipulate time, to bend the very fabric of reality, and yet Marcus was still struggling to understand how to harness that power without destroying everything around him. He had spent hours meditating with the heart, trying to attune himself to its rhythm, its pulse. Sometimes he would see flashes of distant galaxies, the birth of stars, or the destruction of entire civilizations. Other times, he would feel a crushing weight in his chest, as if the power within him was threatening to tear him apart. He could feel the knowledge of Norath's history, the rise and fall of empires, the secrets of the ancient world, the untold truths that had been hidden for millennia. But with all this knowledge came a growing sense of dread. The more he learned, the more he realized how fragile everything truly was. The heart's power wasn't just a gift, it was a burden, one that Marcus wasn't sure he could bear. And yet he had no choice but to try. One evening, as he sat alone in the chamber where he had first touched the heart, he felt a presence behind him. He turned to see the queen standing in the doorway, her expression unreadable. She had been distant lately, as if she were preparing for something. Marcus had asked her about the visions he had seen, the things he had felt, but she had always been vague in her answers. "Are you ready?" the queen asked, her voice soft but carrying an undeniable weight. Marcus stood up, feeling the weight of her question. He had been asking himself that very same thing for days. Was he ready to face the truth? Was he ready to embrace the power of the heart and the responsibility that came with it? "I don't know," Marcus admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "I've learned so much, but it doesn't feel like enough. I don't know if I can control it. I don't know if I'm strong enough." The queen walked into the room, her steps silent as she approached him. "You are stronger than you think," she said, "but strength alone is not enough. The heart does not answer to power. It answers to those who can understand its true nature." Marcus shook his head. "I don't even understand what it is. How can I control something I don't understand?" The queen placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch surprisingly warm. "The heart is not meant to be controlled, Marcus. It is meant to be understood. Only when you accept that you are a part of it, not its master, will you be able to wield its power." Marcus felt a surge of confusion. How could he accept something so dangerous? How could he trust in something that could reshape reality itself? "You must trust yourself," the queen continued. "Trust in what the heart has shown you. The future of Norath depends on your choices, but it is not the power that will determine the outcome. It is the heart of the one who wields it." Marcus stared at the heart, still resting on the pedestal. It seemed almost alive, pulsing with an energy that he could feel deep in his bones. It had chosen him. It had marked him. But now it was up to him to decide what to do with the power it offered. The room was silent for a long moment. The weight of his decision hung in the air, thick and suffocating. Marcus could feel the pressure building, his thoughts swirling around him like a storm. He knew he couldn't avoid it any longer. The heart had chosen him. It had given him a glimpse of its power, and now it was time to act. "I'm ready," Marcus said finally, his voice steady. "I'll do what I must." The queen's eyes softened and she nodded. Then it is time to face the truth. With a wave of her hand, the heart lifted off the pedestal, floating gently into the air. Marcus watched in awe as it hovered in front of him, its glow intensifying. He reached out to it, his hands trembling slightly as he touched it once more. The moment his fingers made contact with the heart, everything around him seemed to fade away. The chamber, the queen, the palace, everything vanished. He was no longer in the present. He was transported to another time, another place. He saw flashes of Norath's past, ancient cities rising from the dust, kingdoms being built and destroyed, the birth of the first ruler who had wielded the heart's power. He felt the weight of the responsibility the ruler had borne, the choices they had made, the consequences of their actions. The visions continued, showing him the rise of an empire that spanned galaxies, the battles fought between those who sought the heart's power and those who wished to destroy it. He saw how the heart had been hidden, buried deep within the heart of Norath, protected by the royal bloodline for centuries. And then, suddenly, the visions shifted. He saw the future of Norath and of the galaxy. It was a future filled with uncertainty, chaos, and destruction. The heart's power was unstable, and if it was not controlled, it would tear everything apart. He saw glimpses of war, of entire worlds falling to ruin, of the heart being used to manipulate time itself, causing irreversible damage. Marcus gasped as the vision faded, and he found himself back in the chamber. The heart had stopped glowing, and it was once again resting on the pedestal. His heart was racing, his body drenched in sweat. The weight of what he had seen was overwhelming. The heart's power was not a blessing, it was a curse, a force that could either save or destroy everything. The queen was standing beside him now, her expression solemn. "You have seen the truth," she said quietly. "The future is not set. It can be shaped, but only by those who understand the cost of the power they wield." Marcus nodded, still trying to process everything he had seen. The heart's power was terrifying, but it was also necessary. It could change the course of history, for better or for worse. And now it was up to him to decide what kind of future he wanted to create. "I can't do this alone," Marcus said, his voice breaking. "I need help. I need guidance." The queen nodded. "You will not be alone. The heart has chosen you because you have the strength to face the darkness. But you must remember, Marcus, the heart does not decide the future. You do." Marcus took a deep breath, steadying himself. He had a long road ahead of him. The power of the heart was in his hands, but it was not the power that mattered. It was the choices he made. He would have to be careful, measured, and wise. There were forces that would try to use the heart for their own gain, and Marcus knew he couldn't allow that to happen. The future of Norath, and perhaps the galaxy itself, depended on the decisions he made in the coming days. As he turned to face the queen, he knew that this was just the beginning. There was much to learn, much to understand. But one thing was clear: Marcus Bishop had been chosen for a reason, and whatever lay ahead, he would face it with the strength and resolve that had brought him here in the first place. The heart of Norath had shown him the truth. Now it was up to him to shape the future.